All right, so I came across this story about Flint, Michigan. I don't know if everybody knows about this. I certainly didn't till yesterday, and it sort of blew me away. Now, I just made a video about Steve Harvey doing this fake apology and how it is like a drop in the ocean of the hypocrisy of crisis actors and all these stage events. And here is another example of a drop of water of our collapsing society. America becoming a third world country and this push for eugenics and depopulation. So what happened, I'll just read this. It says, to save money, again, this is Flint, Michigan, so the area in Michigan, major economic crisis there, many people know about this. So to save money, they switched from Detroit city water, and they started to try to process their own tap water from the Flint River, which apparently was severely polluted. So this is from an article from NBC News. More National Guard troops move into Flint as water crisis widens. Again, there's an element of martial law here as well. And so it says here, soon after the April 2014 switch, that was a switch from tap water to Flint River water, some of the city's 100,000 residents began complaining about the taste, smell, and appearance of the water. Tests later showed the river water lacked proper treatment, causing lead to leach from old pipes. Local children have shown elevated levels of lead in their blood, a condition that can cause permanent brain damage. Everybody knows about the horrors of lead poisoning, and just think about this. So to save money, it's now costing them, the state, millions of dollars of health care. There could be lawsuits involved. People are going to lose their jobs. So why would they do something? You could say, all right, there's just blatant incompetence and that they're under such economic pressure. But it appears to be some sort of a eugenics type movement. It's bad enough that within the city water, the water of most major cities, people are getting poisoned by fluoride and other toxins. The city water is usually not fit to drink. It's unhealthy for you. But then they're going to take water out of a dirty river, which is really not out of a reservoir, out of some contaminated river that must have factory runoff and this type of thing. All right, without knowing very much about this area, I've been to Michigan once, and I have some friends that live in the Detroit area, and they've told me what it's like there now. So I have a little bit of first-hand accounts, but without knowing very much, and just going on the assumption that this appears to be some sort of genocidal population control type activity and martial law type activity. If you look it up, Flint, Michigan has been named the #1 most dangerous city for a number of years, and it's one of the most violent cities in the country due to poverty and unemployment. Then without doing very much more research, you can find out that Flint, Michigan, Genesee County, where Flint, Michigan is, has been supplied with a lot of this military surplus, military armored vehicles, assault rifles, all of these types of things. And the area, the greater Detroit area, has received over $42 million worth of military surplus. And then doing just a little bit more research, you find out that there has been military activity. Military urban training begins. There is a video here from a local news network. I'll leave a link to that in the description box. But residents in this town were shaken up by these monster explosions that were going on in Flint, Michigan. So this was from June 2015. So you have these exercises, which we see so much before, during, and after any of these false flag staged events. You always see that they have military or police type training exercises. And then you have this county and the local and the greater area being heavily armed by military surplus. And then you have a very violent city where there's unemployment and there doesn't look to be much of a future for this entire area. And then you have all of these exercises, and the next thing you know, people are getting poisoned by contaminated water. And now there is a heavy National Guard presence in the area. Now this is, to me, I don't think most people appreciate the gift and the luxury it is to have fresh water come into our houses. This is one of the things when there's going to be a worldwide collapse and we end into a situation where it's like an apocalyptic time. When the economy collapses and our various infrastructures collapse, people will realize what a gift it has been to have fresh, clean water come into your houses. This is something that's very rare. Only the wealthiest of people in the past got to take baths like pretty much most modern people can take nowadays, showers, just have all this water, the flushing of your toilet with fresh drinking water. This stuff is unheard of. And there's no place in the world that has the kind of fresh water that America has. In fact, there's a good example being up in the upper northern part of the central part of the United States, where they have these Great Lakes. They're just oceans of fresh water. And the rainfall that we get here in the United States and the abundance of rivers and the way the water was when the white people first got here, the way the Native Americans took care of this land, you could just drink all this water, springs. One of the great things about America is the springs. We lived in a variety of places, and you can drink this spring water, and it's just amazing, this cold spring water coming out of the ground. And now we're seeing that the weather patterns are changing and the aquifers are dwindling down, and we're heading into a situation where water is going to be a valued commodity. Now, this is something there's going to be water wars on a worldwide basis, especially with all the toxic elements. And when you add radioactive type particles that are going into the ocean, and you'll see this contaminating various bodies of water when there's nuclear power meltdowns or atomic war, and these particles, they go through the water table and end up in these rivers and these lakes and these types of things. So this is something that we'll all be more appreciative and we'll all be more grateful for in the future. Fresh, clean water will be something of a gift, something that we won't take for granted. And this is the beginning of this type of situation. We're talking about a large city, a large impoverished city, and what's happening there? Lead poisoning. What else are these people getting? It sounds like some sort of a slow kill. We already know that these cities up there in the Detroit area have been devastated by the economy. 50% unemployment in some of these cities. And so these people are unwanted. These are some of the people that are first to go. But now that you can see this, now that we're starting to see this is something that's going on around the world. Fresh water is becoming something. There's shortages of fresh water. You're going to have this feast of famine type situation where you have a rainy season. This is a worldwide trend where you no longer have these seasons where there's consistent rainfall all year round, but you see more and more that there's these wet seasons and dry seasons, that you're either flooded or you're having forest fires due to the dry nature of the lack of rain and all these types of things. All right, so this is just something I think is very interesting. We'll see what kind of follow-up events that are similar to this. We'll see if there's some sort of pattern development here where we have contaminated drinking water, especially in poor communities, and how this ends up being a trend that we see in the near future.